in there immediately with Craig.
Blam. Cool. Here we go. 4:03. We were gamers. We're all here. We're together. It's Monday and it's a holiday. I'm recharged. I don't know about you guys. I'm upcharged, recharged, and every kind of charged you can be. I don't know.
Upcharge. I'm not paying that.
Yeah, what the heck?
Welcome back. JJ's here. He said, "What the heck?"
Yes, I did. Hello.
Michael's here. He said, "I'm not paying that."
How you doing? Welcome back, Andy.
I don't know if you've seen that California has that new bill that you can't hide service fees in your company. I don't know. So I guess restaurants, especially in the Bay Area, have been telling people it's $15 for a Chipotle bowl or whatever, and then you get your bill and there's a 10% surcharge they don't tell you about ahead of time.
This happens in restaurants in San Diego too. I've seen it several places.
Yeah. I have seen it posted ahead of time that's like, hey, we have a subcharge, but apparently they were hiding them some places and not telling people till after the bills came.
Most of them have these, or they say that there's an additional fee or whatever, but they may not tell you that it's like 10% or whatever, and so then all your food is actually 10% more expensive, right? Because it gets added pre-tax even. Right.
We're gonna. This is gonna be like leveling up for half the podcast because we have to whine about this type of stuff. I am less likely to shop at your place than I am if you just raised your prices.
400%. I hate places that do this. Yeah,
right.
It's the worst. Like just raise the prices, man.
Yeah, everybody understands that the prices go up. Like you're not really fooling anybody by trying to rewrite it as a service charge.
Yeah. Oh, I can't afford to pay people. Well, I mean, that's the price, man. I don't know if you noticed, but McDonald's is double the cost it was in 2008.
Oh no, my poor widow business won't make me as much money anymore. Boo-hoo! Yeah, that's how business works, dude. Like,
I get it. Look, I get it. It's tough to make more money when you have to charge more and people don't have more money to pay. But like, you still have to charge it because it's the charge is there. It's not like all of a sudden I'm going to be like, oh, you need 10% charity to run your business. I see.
Right.
No, raise your prices 10%,
And like, especially in the case where it's like, we've raised the prices on everything 10%. And you're like, okay, like the price of meat went up and the price of eggs and these sorts of things, right? Which, I mean, eggs have come back down. But like, in general, like the price of a lot of goods have gone up. But are you telling me the price of like kale has spiked or whatever? Did the price of this booze transition up $6? It's like, I don't think that's true. Like, is this beer $2 more expensive now? Like, I don't think that's true. So like, you're just like, adding money on here. Yeah.
You mentioned kale. I bought the Cabbage shredder. Did I share the videos of Don Cabbage with you, the Japanese man who makes everything out of cabbage?
No.
I think this isn't a video podcast, but my face is very confused. So if you had seen it, you would know the answer to your question.
Instagram at some point. We should just video chat at some point in the future. A lot of people are doing it. We don't have to record the video, but anyway, Don Cabbage is on Instagram. I can't understand many of the things he says. He speaks Japanese very quickly, but many of his Instagram reels are subtitled for his American audience. And he will do things like, hey, are you on a diet? They all start with, are you on a diet? Then he shreds a lot of cabbage, fries it in a pan until it's kind of like a cake, usually with like an egg and some other stuff to make it kind of stick together. And then he'll make it into a hot dog bun, or he'll make it into a pizza, or whatever, a calzone. Don Cabbage. And he has this massive...
I'm watching one of these.
Okay. Do you see the massive vegetable peeler?
Yeah.
Okay, I bought one of those directly from Japan.
Okay.
It is extremely sharp. I cut myself opening it.
I was gonna say this thing looks very dangerous.
It is a mandolin on wheels.
Yeah, so like, folks, if you've ever used a vegetable peeler, right? Like, picture the Y-shaped vegetable peeler, or fruit peeler.
Uh-huh. Now triple the size.
Yeah, and also instead of like one slit for cutting things into a peel, it has like two, and instead of like just straight blades, they're like jagged teeth.
Mm-hmm.
This thing looks like it could murder someone very painfully.
Yeah. Getting it out of the package. It came from Japan. It's sharpened like it came from Japan. I got myself getting it out of the package.
Oh,
Like-
no.
Hopefully not badly.
No. Just like
Okay.
very, very like small, but like, oh, ow, kind of situation. So I'll review that in a further episode.
I mean, based on this Instagram video, which who knows? I mean, this guy has done this 57,000 times.
Look at that mustache, by the way.
It's too much, to be
It's
honest
glorious.
with you. I can't handle it. It's too much for me.
Yeah.
But I mean, he just takes that whole head of cabbage and it's just gone, like effectively,
Mhm.
very quickly.
Mhm.
So
Very quick. He has a whole video about how to shred an entire head with that tool without cutting yourself.
the last part seems relevant.
Feels like the watch this first video.
I mean, very much like knife skills, right? You have to learn the claw, and you also have to learn the claw without lifting the knife too high, et cetera, et cetera.
Right, yeah.
It seems very similar to that. He has this like cup motion for his fingers. Cup,
Gotcha.
not cut. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Underrated skill for young adults, knife skills. Folks, that stuff pays off, man. You should learn. It helps a lot. Way more than you think.
Oh, yeah. You think you're never going to get the claw, and then over time, it's a lot of practice. You Julia Childs yourself, man. Stay in a room and cut onions until you can't mess it up. Well, you do it in your sleep, It's just practice.
It is. It really is.
And it does pay off. I have
it
cut
does.
myself significantly less than I used to.
Yep. And it also wears the knife less, so you don't have to sharpen it as often. I mean, you should
I'm
be
also
like,
much faster and more efficient.
which, to be clear, also that's another young adult life skill: sharpen your stupid knives.
You will. I mean, that alone will cause you to cut yourself less.
Okay, all right. Okay.
Which is
What do you guys
to
use to
people who
sharpen
don't.
your knives? I need to know.
I usually just use a stick.
Okay,
skill
so that's
sharpener.
honing. That's not sharpening.
Yeah, so I do hone them
do
semi-frequently.
Yeah, regularly free. I had to explain this. I don't know, Michael, if you were saying it because you already know this, or if you're. But honing does improve your cut. But what you're doing with the stick is unbending your blade.
Yeah.
So you have like micro bends in there, from cutting, right? Like especially harder things. And the honing stick will then put it back in shape so it cuts real well again. But it's not technically sharpening where you remove metal to make sharper metal.
Yeah, so the classic sharpening tool is a whetstone, right? Which is just a like really hard rock, and then you have to like hold your knife at like an annoying angle and rub the stone along it.
Somewhere between 6 and 20 degrees, depending on the knife.
Yeah, and depends on the kind of knife you have as to what that degree is. And then there is like tools or machines that you can buy, that are like put this thing in this thing and like rub it and it will do the sharpening process. I do not have the tool, so I poorly use the stone, I will say.
Oh, you have a stone. Okay.
Yeah.
Do you
Not often enough, I will say. Like I already know I'm not doing it at the recommended amount.
Interesting. I had a machine back when I was using KitchenAid knives, and then I switched over to a bunch of Henkel's knives a couple years ago, and those have been sharp enough that I literally have gotten away with honing them for years now. But
so it is
think
true that you
it's
shouldn't have to sharpen them that much, right?
Yeah.
If you're properly maintaining them by honing them all the time, you should only have to sharpen them once every couple years or something like that. maybe even a little longer if you're doing a good job. Because, I mean, as Andrew mentioned earlier, it is a removal process. So, like, you will decrease the size physically of the knife. Not maybe to the point where you can see it, but then 4 years later of you doing this, all of a sudden the knife will be, slightly shorter. And then if you keep using that same knife for 20 years, now your knife is like a third of the size that it was.
Honing has proved to be essential maintenance that I never performed with my cheaper knives that has kept them sharp enough. But I threw away that grinder when I got the nicer knives, and I actually went out recently and purchased whetstones, but I haven't done it yet. I'm afraid.
Yeah, I'll tell you the big thing about whetstones is it's a pain in the butt. It sucks, dude. It's not fun. My arm hurts real bad because you got to lay into it. You are physically doing the grinding.
Yeah.
And you have to be very careful about maintaining that angle.
Do you know who Bob Kramer is?
No, not by the name.
He's a relatively famous knife maker, kitchen knife maker. I guess he makes other knives. He's got a video out about how to whetstone stuff, and he seems so nonchalant about it. I was like, yeah, I could do it. And then I watched it again a few more times once I got the whetstones, and I'm like, I'll wait until they're really in need.
Yeah. And the other thing, like, and there's all sorts of people have like all sorts of contraptions you can buy, like clampy arm things that you can use that like hold it at certain
angles.
Hold it at certain angles so you could just like move it back and forth and all kinds of stuff. I don't know, man. I ain't that fancy.
Okay. I'll just stick with Michael for a little bit and just hone them. You know who has really sharp knives, you guys? People that handle the meats.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Michael, you've been a place recently. I've been trying to go more on that at the end of this discussion. How are the meats?
The meats were good. So we tried a new barbecue place, it being Memorial Day weekend. So we decided to try a place called Hickory and Spice. It is up pretty much walking distance from Andy's house.
I have considered biking to that shopping center before. There is a decent intersection I'd be worried about, but the kids do it on their electric bikes, so I probably think it's fine.
There you go.
Not my kids. I mean the kids.
The kids. The larger.
The larger, the youths.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yep. So barbecue place, first good sign, and I'm sure you'll get to this a little bit later, Andy, is that they're the kind of place where when they sell out of something, that's it. They're done for the day.
Mm-hmm.
And when all the meats are gone, it might not be closing time, but it's closing time.
Yes.
So they do
designed that way. Mm-hmm.
Yep. So they do 4 meats on their general board. They do a brisket, they do pork spare ribs, they do pulled pork, and they do smoked turkey. So those are your 4 options.
Smoked turkey is an interesting choice, not chicken.
Yeah, smoked turkey, not one you generally see as a regular on a menu.
No, yeah, usually it's like a holiday thing.
Yep. And then they do, for sides, they do a mac and cheese, they do a ranch beans, and I'll touch on those in a minute. A sweet potato casserole, a creamed corn, tater tots, coleslaw, onion rings, and then they've got a banana cookies and cream pudding for dessert.
Banana cookies and cream pudding. Ooh,
that's a solid spread right there.
Yeah.
So it hits a lot of staples. It's not an extensive menu. They're not trying to do everything. They picked a few things and they're trying to do them well.
A little bit more pop-up-y.
Yeah, a little bit. So we got the brisket and the pulled pork. They were unfortunately sold out of the ribs for the day on the day that we went. And then we got the mac and cheese, the ranch beans, and the sweet potato casserole. So 2 mains, 3 sides. And it was good. I have no complaint with either the brisket or the pulled pork. The brisket was like just the right balance of meat to a little bit of fat layer there in the middle of the slice. So you get some of the good smoke retained in that fat layer, and it keeps everything moist. The pulled pork was good. And this is just my little North Carolinian in me. I would like pulled pork served without being sauced. They had put their own sauce on it, which was very good. But I have a bottle of North Carolina style vinegar sauce in the pantry.
That you want to
So
put on.
sure,
Mhm.
yeah, but I wasn't going to complain that they had their own sauce that they thought this is what should go on the pulled pork, and it was very good.
Yeah. You're gonna have a rough time in California. Pulled pork because of the proximity to other ethnic foods near here that all serve their pulled meats or stewed meats or whatever sauced.
Yeah, yeah. There are
It's the
very
expectation, I think.
few and far
Totally.
between are the places where you get it unsauced and you're allowed to add your own.
Yeah.
I mean, to be clear, they're not going to like throw you out if you add your own.
Oh, for
But
sure. No.
No.
but yeah, they're
But if
they're
if you've
expecting you
never
to just
been
eat
somewhere
it.
before, right? If you've never been somewhere before, you're just gonna take it as it comes, kind of.
Yeah. So the sides and then the three sides that we got were great, and I'll break it down for you. We got an adult, they call it quote unquote adult mac and cheese. It's
Uh-oh.
smoked Gouda, Jack and cheddar cheeses with sun-dried tomatoes, and they use penne instead of elbows.
That's cool because macaroni, in general, I think is a little played out.
Yeah. So it was a fun surprise when we opened the container and saw it as penne, and just a really good mac and cheese. The sweet potato casserole was excellent. I'm very
Did
glad
you?
that no, go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say, did you get it with or without the dust, or
Which
did you
one?
not? Did you? Yeah, wait, sorry. Is that come on the fries? That might come on the
It comes on
fries.
the fries and the onion rings. You're talking their
Okay,
fairy dust seasoning.
fairy dust. I didn't know if it
Yeah,
came on the mac also.
it does not.
Okay, good.
So we got the sweet potato casserole, which made me glad that we had not also ordered a dessert because it was fantastic. It's topped with a pecan crumble that might have a little bourbon in it. Thought I caught a little taste of that in there, but
Mm.
super rich and on its own kind of serves as a dessert.
Oh, okay.
So like
And
probably sweetened sweet potatoes even
oh, it's
then?
definitely got a lot
Definitely
of brown sugar
sugary
in
and
it.
whatnot.
A
Yeah,
lot
okay.
of
Brown
brown
sugar,
sugar,
marshmallow.
maybe some no marshmallow, but maybe some molasses.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, okay. A picture is
Uh,
coming together of delicious food.
Little bit of black strap for your afternoon.
yeah, there you go. And then the last one, so the last side dish was and they didn't have baked beans, they had ranch beans, which were a medley of black pinto and white beans with bell pepper and onion. That's how it's described just on the menu. But
Just
the
like chili.
almost, except the predominant seasoning that they used in it is turmeric.
Oh, yum.
Yeah, so like a very different flair to a baked bean, and kind of a really nice counterpoint to a lot of the heavier, richer tastes from some of the other things.
So
I've
so
been
when you say that it's a medley of beans here, were they baked like a baked bean, or was it
They
just
were
like
like there
beans
were
with chopped vegetables in situ, kind of as they cook them? I don't know what
no.
what is the stuff that is in the baked beans? You put stuff in it, I just don't know what that stuff is,
a lot of
I'm
sugar, dude, and
A lot of
usually like tomato sauce.
sometimes
Yeah.
tomato sauce,
so
mustard,
is
brown
that
sugar.
stuff present here also, do you think?
Yes, so there's the same kind of thick stewy sauce that's serving as the base that holds everything together.
Okay.
And there's chopped peppers, some chopped jalapeno, the little pieces of sliced bacon that you find in baked beans.
Yes, yes.
It's just got this twist from the turmeric that was
Yeah.
really really nice.
Okay,
I've
so
been
it
using
is Oh, go ahead.
I've been using turmeric in hash browns.
Ooh, very nice.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I was gonna say
Offsets the like greasy flavor.
it is definitely in the vein of what you would use to make a chili, except the spices are wrong, right? I guess that's
Right,
the only
yeah.
difference.
Yeah.
Maybe you would include more like ground beef or something in a chili, probably.
Well, you got a lot of spices that are missing.
Yeah. Anywho, damn, that sounds good.
Yeah. So, no complaints about the food. The only complaint that we had was portion size. So,
Small?
yes. So a barbecue
Oh.
place, like we kind of touched on this topic earlier. A barbecue place, like everybody else, you go into it. I think we all go into a barbecue place expecting to pay a premium for the high quality meats that you're going to get, right?
Sure.
That's just kind of par for the course with a barbecue restaurant. So if a place has a plate, say, because we got two plates, They have a regular size, which comes with one side, and they have a large size that comes with two sides. I think there's kind of a minimum expectation of what should come with each one, and to our minds, they kind of undersold the portions. So the brisket plate came with exactly 2 slices of brisket,
Oh, that's a little low.
the
Yeah.
regular side.
A little bit of shrinkflation there.
A little bit. So the pulled pork was a little bit more like what you would expect from a single portion, um, but still maybe a little on the light side.
Mm-hmm.
So that to us was kind of the only the sad point was the feeling that, oh, we should have gotten large plates instead of regular plates.
My issue with them is that up until recently, that policy of when we run out, we shut down, really has left me unable to eat there.
Yeah, I called them before I even walked out the door and asked, "Hey, what are you sold out of?"
Yeah, I've had that practice now, but um, we haven't just had the opportunity to go when they've had the things that we would want,
Yeah.
or they've been shut down to do catering or things like that. But it led me to a question. I've been having some problems with a few companies lately where they just either don't have the staff or they don't have the product to keep up. And whatever the reason is, aren't able to communicate that or call back or do whatever. So like recently I tried to order something direct and pick it up from somewhere, and I said I'm going to be there on this day, I'll be in the area. Is it possible to have it picked up that day? Oh, I'll get back to you. Call them the next day. Oh, I'll get back to you. Call them the next day. I'm trying to hear from the factory. Call them the next day. How long do you give a restaurant or a company? This is our leveling up question as adults now. How long do you give them before you give up and just go somewhere else?
Yeah, that's tough. I feel like I give places several chances usually. I mean, depending on what it is that went wrong, but there's so much variation from staff from night to night, right? At the typical place that you could have just caught the wrong person on the wrong night.
Yeah, well, that's that. I mean, definitely, one night is not the answer.
Yeah, but I think
Most of the time. Most of the time.
typically like a 3-strike rule is pretty safe.
I guess for me, it's going to come down on. I think 3 strikes on a restaurant is pretty fair. If you go
That's
back,
generous, especially
3
if you have a
times.
bad manager experience. 3 strikes is pretty
Yeah.
overly generous, I think.
like, if you go back a second time and it's also bad, I would probably be willing to call it at that point, right?
Mhm.
For a non-restaurant business, it then becomes really tough for me because especially if you're talking about special ordering stuff or trying to get things in, direct or, stuff like that. I places are so hit and miss on that stuff, even on good days and good places, that I don't know that stuff is even possible unless you're even like to be, to be upset about it from a specific store. Like I I really struggle with that because it's you custom order something, like like a birthday cake or something. Like those places are usually pretty good about having it when they say they'll have it because they know how many they're going to make in a day or whatever. But when you order something from a factory or a manufacturer or whatever, it shows up when the heck ever the other people want it to, and they have no control over that.
Yeah,
And
yeah, I
so then
get
it's like,
it.
what do you do?
If they're ordering from someone else, I get that. But like the communication problems recently, I have noticed are getting pretty bad, and that's probably because most companies are cutting in their communications areas. They're like seeing customer services as a salvageable way to make money, right? Like my current cell phone carrier doesn't have customer service, basically. Like that's
Yeah.
how they save money. Literally, they just don't have anyone you can call.
Yeah.
I just yeah, okay, 3 strikes.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it works out to like, what is the thing and how unreasonable and how, out of the ordinary is this ask, right? If this is something that you could get from this place frequently and they just like can't get it together for some reason, like that's a real bad sign. I'm less inclined to be happy with that. If you go to a bakery day after day and they're constantly out of whatever kind of bread, it's like, okay, are you just like selling it all the second you open, or are you just lying and you aren't have the ingredients and you're not making this bread anymore, right? Like, is
I want
that what's
some
happening
bread.
here? And so like
Now I want bread.
And so like, well, this is my point though. Like in that case, it could be one of those things where like no one is paying them to redo the sign on the wall or the basket in the front that has the little tag on it, because the people are too busy trying to make the bread that they are still able to make, right? And so no one is worried that they haven't crossed out the, extra special focaccia loaf or whatever off the board and are never going to put it back. So like those kinds of things are the ones where I struggle with, because it's like, well, I really loved that one, but they're not making it anymore. Are they going to make it again later or not? And then the employees don't know because it's not on their end, right?
Right.
So yeah, I mean, for a whole host of reasons, that stuff is tough. But just like going to a service restaurant and having bad experiences twice is a real bad sign, I would say.
Before we move on from the adult times, since I didn't get a chance to say it in person, JJ, what a great party.
Oh, thank you. I heard your commentary track last week.
I don't know if that was a good idea or not, but it came to me while
I thought it was great.
Yeah.
I loved it, honestly.
Opening that Magnum, whose idea was that? Because they need props, whoever that was.
We wanted to do it, so it was a agreed upon decision between both of us that we wanted to open it. So
that was from your wedding year, yes?
Yes. The wine is older than that, but it was given to us on our wedding year.
Oh, okay, got it.
Yeah, I think it was a 2008.
It held up beautifully.
Yeah, it was
Tacos
really good.
Were amazing, and everyone bringing their kids and then also being like, send them to the park. Really, I feel like showed that your friend group gels in a certain way that is pretty remarkable.
Well, I'm glad to hear, man. I said we sort of had the impression like, oh, there's a lot of people who have said yes. Well, if all of them show up and all of them hang out in the front and the back, the front of the house, the back of the house, and the backyard, even if a few people hang out in the front yard, that's not gonna fit. And then, Stephanie's like, well, I bet a bunch of the kids will just go play in the park and it'll be fine. And I was like,
Hands out.
Okay.
Turns out.
And then it was, yeah.
Great go. All right. I think we should lead the pod. Are we starting the pod? Is it time?
Oh,
are we finally kicking it?
Hello. Welcome to episode 403 of We Were Gamers. Breaking news.
Yeah. I actually have 2 pieces of breaking news here, Andy.
Oh, no.
Acuna
ACL.
No. Oh God.
Why you gotta rub
Okay,
salt?
Michael. The Padres are coming. The Padres are coming to Anaheim in a week, and I have to get all my licks in now.
Well, we lost 3 games in a row to the Rockies, so
if you lose any to the Angels, I mean, just hang it up.
Well,
I'm coughing because it's funny.
It is funny that we're on MLB because actually one of my breaking news concerns Major League Baseball.
We should start with that one.
We will. Reviled umpire Angel Hernandez is retiring.
Wow. I don't even know how to react to that.
Yeah.
Mid-season?
The most hated umpire.
Mid-season or at the end of the season?
Unclear.
Not
I didn't,
soon enough.
Look, man, I read the breaking news announcement by like creditable reporter, not just like random person wish casting on the internet.
But who will MLB Twitter and Instagram and TikTok revile next?
Well, I wanted to talk about this a little. He's not the only terrible umpire in MLB. I happen to have a list. Would you guys like to hear some other names that you should be aware of?
Let's hear about them.
These are 9 other really bad umpires by
So
statistics.
The top 10. All right.
By statistics.
Is
Angel
he number
Hernandez,
1?
Angel Hernandez is number 1. It's not a ranked list necessarily. They're all.
I don't generally like to bag on people in sports. Sports are hard, including refereeing in sports. But you've got to be some kind of extra special bad at your job to be Angel Hernandez.
I have said that I am in favor of the umpires staying. So
I am
on
too.
this podcast, right? So
Yeah,
I think
still
having a
stand
bad
by the
ump is
idea that
part
an
of the
Yep.
deal.
Yep. Yes.
A-
Uh-huh.
but-
Umpiring is part of the game.
Human
But
factor.
it is a skill like any other, and some people are less good at it than others. And the statistics show these people not very good at it in various different ways.
Should we institute the old what was it, GE rule?
What's
it
that?
GE? The lay off the bottom 10% every year?
Oh, that's Amazon, I think, that does that now.
No, it started with I think GE.
Okay, no thought on that.
Well, I'm just saying you got 10 umpires here. There aren't 100 umpires.
Well,
So-
there's many more than 10 though. So,
Well, yeah. So if we laid off 10%, we'd get these 10 out.
oh, I see where you're going. Okay,
There you
okay. Their union would probably not be too happy with that plan.
They'd get more members.
Again, not the concern, as you know. But so these other guys, they are all men, I guess. To be fair,
Yeah, we should get some ladies in there. Softball
probably
players
would
have
do
good
at least this good of a job. based off
It's not.
this.
It's not a job that requires any gender at all.
Fully correct. CB Bucknor,
Okay.
Doug.
Buck Snore.
Yeah, he's quite bad. Doug Eddings.
Educating him on how to do better.
I'm gonna just recommend you stop.
While you're only so far behind.
Some of these names are gonna get really tough. Brian Onora,
Oh no,
Ron Culpa, Kulpa.
mea culpa.
I stopped.
There you go.
No, yeah, there you go. Mea culpa, the bad strike zone.
Laz Diaz.
Michael.
Last days as an umpire.
A guy who's so bad that I actually already knew his name, Rob Drake.
Oh, I know Rob Drake too.
It's
Yeah.
a bad sign that you know the umpire's name. You should never know the umpire's names. Greg,
I mean, it's almost a rite of passage for anyone to know Angel Hernandez these days, and we're all gonna know Drake afterwards.
Yep. Greg Gibson. Ed Hickox. And the last one, Hunter Wendestalt. Wendelstedt?
Not,
you know what? I'm not even going to try
work
anymore.
here. Not going to work here anymore.
Yeah. It's rough.
Okay,
All of them have
hold on. That's a
tons of
reference.
documented
Thank you,
instances.
Andy.
We gotta shout that out so the youngs will go watch that movie. If times get hard and you find yourself in a 2008 situation, Office Space is your answer, you guys. Okay, just go watch it.
It is even more applicable to the modern times than people would
gonna
think.
work here no more. All right, good job, Michael.
So if you want to look up a new person to hate follow on MLB just to see how bad they're doing, any of those fine gentlemen, probably.
So did he say he's retiring immediately or at the end of the year?
Didn't see that answer. I can try and look it up if you guys want to vamp.
It's
it's
you're
not.
the one with the second breaking news. So
Well, the other thing has nothing to do with MLB, so
I really feel like that's got to be one of those, buddy, hang it up, please, right now.
this says has retired. So that's like he's
Yeah,
already gone.
ESPN 1 hour ago, effective immediately.
He's out.
Yeah.
I wonder if someone behind the scenes is just like shoveling money into his car to get him to go, you know?
Dude, I mean, what do baseball players get? 15 years?
If
The
they're
guy's
lucky,
been-
yeah.
The guy's been at it 34 years. I bet he can't even see a pitcher's release anymore.
I don't want to say anything good about him, so I'm just going to be quiet. an completely unrelated. We're just going to take the train from the track and just go skirt, and it's like 90-degree right angle here. Very
Oh,
small
man.
little piece
I
of
hope it's
breaking
still
news.
sports though, because I had a
No.
good transition. So
Oh no, we should transition then because the other piece
No,
of
that's
breaking
fine.
news is completely off the rails.
we're here. Well, go for it.
David Lynch is putting something out soon.
TM.
Yeah, June 5.
Whoa. That's immediately. That's not
Oh.
soon.
That is all he
That's
said.
next week.
There will be something for you to see and hear. June 5. That's
Okay,
all
so
he said.
2 podcasts from now, June 10th, we will be able to talk about new David Lynch content.
Maybe. I mean, it might just be, who knows what it will be.
Well, I mean, it's something. Is it?
Yeah,
Does
something
he still
for you
do
to
the weather?
see and hear, he says. I don't
Does
think
he still
so.
do the weather? I think
think
he's
so.
tried to quit at least once doing the weather. At one point.
I mean, maybe he does
And-
it infrequently, but he definitely does not do it daily.
Yeah.
In fact, this tweet announcing this is the first thing he's tweeted since December 22nd, or sorry, December 8th of 2022.
Okay. Well, he seems to have stopped doing the daily ones in 2022. So, interesting.
So, who knows what that will be?
I'm into it. I don't care what it is at this point.
Yeah,
I
like
need
I said,
something.
I'm standing here, arms open, hit me with it, whatever it is,
Yeah. Well, I mean, we're on David Lynch. I could give you something. Okay, it's going to come in a message, so just give me a second. I have to get into my phone here and send it. Messenger. Yep. Send. Okay. In Lynchian fashion, I would like you to zoom in. I feel like this sign would find its way into a Lynch film. I don't understand exactly why and how this sign exists. Driving back, as I did between Nevada and California this past weekend, I've never seen this before, and it makes very little sense for it to exist. Travel on shoulder allowed 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. Sunday through Monday, emergency stopping other times.
I know what this is.
Go for it.
Go for it, JJ.
Oh, wait, where? Okay. This looks like, I guess, my answer caveats if I'm in the correct place. So is this I-15?
This is.
Okay. This is because there's a billion people coming back from Vegas Sunday evening, and that road turns into a parking lot because of traffic, and they want to let people keep moving. And this is their solution to that.
Much like problems on other freeways, however, the 3 lanes do not continue forever.
Yeah, I didn't say it's a good problem or a good solution or that it will work, but it is what they have done.
Okay. Let's just talk about the math of this. The body count math of this. It's important enough Tuesday through Saturday to save lives and have an emergency stopping zone with a shoulder wide enough to be a lane. However, traffic gets so bad Sunday through Monday that people may or may not know the shoulder is available to use. And whether or not people need to stop for an emergency is unimportant to us.
Yeah, you've done the calculus of human life to $ correctly.
Sounds right.
I took a picture so that you could see. Well, I didn't take the picture. My lovely bride did. However, up ahead on the freeway is the 2-lane section. This shoulder literally just drives off into nowhere. So if you're not paying attention to merge, you'll just end up off the road.
And then you'll need the emergency stopping section right after it's ended.
Yeah. I've never seen anything like it before. They didn't used to allow it. I obviously don't drive from Vegas to California nearly often.
Well, and like the real answer is that the vast majority of people would never use this because it's not helpful, right? It's only for a few miles.
Yeah.
I'm guessing.
Yeah. I'm
And
sure
so
everyone
really-
uses it when it's loud, right? Because they
Maybe.
feel like they're going faster.
Yeah. We have all come backwards into the adding more lanes to the freeway does not decrease traffic solution to every problem.
And yet
that-
we continue it.
Yeah, well,
Yep.
other cities have figured this out faster than Orange County has, Andrew, and I know
I mean,
that's a problem for them in
that's-
LA.
I think that's San Bernardino County, but
Yeah, like I said, some places have figured it out faster than others, so they've stopped adding lanes. But it is a thing that people think will help and are wrong about. But
all right. Should they add more lanes to the Monaco Grand Prix? It's F1 time, Michael.
I hear there was drama.
I
A little
think
bit.
there was
lot of it.
drama in various directions. I don't know.
Yeah. I
Uh,
experienced the race differently this time around, which I will talk about after we talk about the race. But due to
Okay.
my experience this time around, I missed things like tire changes and what the heck happened with Ocon.
You missed some important stuff there.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
But the story actually starts in qualifying, and because this is Monaco, the actual best part of the weekend is qualifying.
Yeah. So, Michael, it's on the streets of Tax Haven, Monaco,
Monte
Okay.
Carlo. Yep.
Monte Carlo. Yeah. You can see the billionaires with their washed money standing on all the balconies, inches
Staring
from the track.
At one point, they literally drive along a harbor to the point where, like, if the car went off the rail, like it would just be in
In the water.
the water. Which
It
is
would no, it
wildly
wouldn't be.
unsafe.
It wouldn't be. It would be in the front of a couple $1 billion boat.
Yeah, sorry, he's correct. It would be in the harbor slip occupied by a mega yacht.
Okay. Yeah, I've seen this James Bond
Yeah.
scene. Continue.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. So they do
Or,
it on the
in
streets.
Iron Man 2, right? Actually.
Yeah, there you go.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. They do it on the streets there, and because the streets there are meant for cars the size of your grandmother's walker, there's no room for passing or anything else. So qualifying is the only real, generally interesting parts. There was one pass, and it got multiple coverage because there was like one pass during the
Did it-
race.
I think there were actually, depending on how you want to count it, there were actually like 3 passes on track.
Sure, on track,
but
yeah.
but
They were all at the back.
That didn't
Logan
matter.
Sargent
Yeah,
was
none of them
involved in
actually
2
mattered.
of them.
Right. He went past people, and then the other people passed him back. That was
For the
kinda-
second year, I think, running straight, the cars in the top 8 finished in the order they started in.
Huh. Okay.
Yep.
So qualifying is the interesting part.
So, as a result of all the qualifying nonsense, Andy, both Haas cars are disqualified
I saw this.
from qualifying. So,
How-
the order gets set for the grid, right? 1st through 10, and then 10 through 15. And Haas was not doing well, to be clear. They were in the bottom 5.
Considering especially that they were cheating.
Considering that they were cheating. And so
Ooh.
after the end of the qualifying session, there are various random technical checks performed on the various cars, and they measure all sorts of random stuff that is like down to the millimeter on these various pieces in certain ways and all sorts of stuff. And both Haas cars were found to be infringing in the same way, something related to like the rear wings.
The DRS wing gap was too large.
In theory, potentially providing more downforce or
downforce.
something, question
Mhm.
mark. And yet it didn't help whatsoever. They both did terrible.
Yep. Mhm.
And then were allowed to compete the next day by the grace of the stewards after having their qualifying results nullified and moved to the back of the grid, basically.
Yeah.
So the stage is already set for nonsense, basically.
Some nonsense.
Sergio
Yeah.
Perez also had a terrible qualifying and was down in the
Just-
bottom
Well,
5.
the Red Bull car, as we talk about multiple times on here, is generally great when there's DRS. There's like almost no there's one DRS zone in Monaco, and it is so small it kind of doesn't matter.
And it's also
You-
not even straight. It actually bends. Just
Yeah.
like it's not a straight even.
Yeah.
So
The interesting parts of the race were, to me, the gaps. Like
mhm.
people trying to play gaps for tire changes.
I
Really,
mean, the interesting part was the
interesting
very
things?
first lap, right? We got
Oh,
can't-
yeah, we skipped the
can't
first
skip
lap, I guess.
the most important thing that happens in the entire race. Well, most important several things, I guess.
Yeah.
Multiple things happen on the very first lap of the race, right? You got 20
Sainz-
cars in a row
Sainz-
funneling
yeah.
down to basically room for one, right?
Yep. Yeah,
And
Sainz punctures his tire because he runs into another car.
Sainz, and I think taps the rear of Piastri, like barely,
Yeah, with his front left tire.
and punctures it. So he's now driving on a floppy wheel as they're going up a hill.
I gotta write that down. That's a good podcast name.
And behind him in the back, they don't notice it at first on the broadcast, right? They're like watching Sainz.
Yeah,
like,
they just keep going. Mm-hmm.
They're watching Sainz like basically be unable to turn his car left because the wheel on the front left doesn't have any air in it, so it like won't
Yeah, he can't
provide
turn.
any grip, and so the car is just like, I'm going straight now, and so he kind of like stops in a runoff area, of which one of the very few that does exist. And then out of the back corner of your eye, you just see showers of metal and stuff come
Debris
flying forward,
everywhere.
as all the other cars fly by. And you're like, well, that definitely wasn't the proper number of cars. And then they cut to a different camera shot, and you see the shattered remains of Sergio Perez's car, and both Haas's stopped nearby.
So Sergio Perez's, I think they call it the capsule, but I might be wrong.
The survival cell, I think, is what
The
you're thinking of.
survival cell, that's what it's called. Which is essentially the tiny area the driver fits in, Michael, is all that's left of his car.
There's some pieces on the back end, but yeah, basically the entire front and the sides and the wheels are just shattered off. Amazingly, the tethers on the wheels have held them close-ish to where the survival cell was.
Yeah.
They didn't like go flying off into
They
the
were
buildings.
underneath the car.
Yeah. But the other pieces all over the track, effectively.
Yeah, they had to replace barriers.
Kevin Magnussen's car pretty heavily damaged in the front area as well. And then Nico Hulkenberg's got tapped in the rear, I think.
Yeah, couldn't. Well, he tried
Perez
to
was spinning
jet.
out.
Well, he tried to jet through the accident, which was his only move.
I mean, he had no
And-
choice, right? Yeah.
Yeah, and ended up getting tapped.
Tapped in the back
because
as
they both
Perez was
started
spinning
in the
around.
back.
Yep.
Who did they judge to be at fault for this part, by the way?
So there were no penalty points given. I think a lot of people thought Magnussen was going to deserve them.
Interesting, because it also looks like Perez squeezed him because he didn't see him in the mirrors.
So all the racing drivers that watched the incident says, you don't do this here. The natural racing line goes between the two barriers there. So Perez was doing the racing thing that you do in that area from the left side to the right side so that you can then turn at the top of the hill, basically. That is and Magnussen would have known this, and all the other cars in front of it were doing that. So that gap was not going to stay. If he had been like 3/4 of the way alongside him or something, maybe, but he was, he had a nose in effectively, right?
So he wasn't far enough up to have pushed him off the racing line, which is what you're supposed to do.
And, it was hard racing from Perez also. Like, he could have given him room. Certainly, there was space on the left side of Perez. He could have moved over. And it's not like Perez didn't know he was there. There's a video of him, like, looking and seeing and then also continuing to go over, right? So I think they sort of judged racing incident. It's not, it's a bad look, I think, for Magnussen. Like, kind of Julian Palmer and some of the others on YouTube out there were sort of saying, like, I wouldn't do this. I don't think this would ever work out for me. I don't know like what world I would ever succeed in this path. But in the end of the day, Kevin avoids a race ban, which is probably what he needed.
Yeah.
But as a result of this, so I guess to be clear, this isn't the only thing that happens on this lap.
Yes, this is what I missed because of I'll tell you later. But
so as this is happening, right? It takes them a second to like to realize, oh, this has happened. Okay, like we have a yellow flag for this sector, but the cars have all moved on to the next sector of the track. Is the name of it Rascass? I don't know the name of that stupid turn where you turn into the tunnel.
Razzmatazz.
Anyway, all the names, because this is an old timey racetrack, Michael. All the names, all the corners have like their own names from 1973 or whatever, when some guy you've never heard of did a thing to some guy, and now it has a famous name.
From
Or
the
like that's-
talkies. Yeah.
Or like a famous overtake happened here, or this was the name of the street that it was before it got rebuilt. Like there's one called the swimming pool chicane because a hotel built a swimming pool there and they had to add this turn on the road that was there before. Like it's literally called that. The Nouvelle chicane because it's new. They added a chicane here, and so it's the new one, right? And so anyway, there's this iconic turn in Monaco where overtaking does happen sometimes, and there's a big tunnel you go through, right? So you turn right and you go into this giant tunnel. And sometimes drivers will try and send it up the inside as the person is making the wider turn and try and cut them off at the turn, and then be in front of them going into the long straightish portion of the tunnel. In ninth and 10th place is Pierre Gasly and Esteban Ocon of the Alpine team.
Okay.
Ocon decides the first lap, and this corner is the time to try it on Pierre Gasly.
His teammate, who to clear, they're both in the points in Monaco. One of the hardest track to overtake on. So he sends it up the inside of Gasly on that corner. Gasly has no idea what he's doing and no idea that he's even there. And they run into each other, and the tires get tangled up in such a way that Esteban's car gets launched and then slams down in I don't know how to explain like lifting up a bed sheet and then flattening it out, where you kind of make that motion to kind of whip it flat. Oh, like a snap?
Yeah.
Like a snapping motion?
Yeah, it flops up and then slams down hard. And this happens. The race people don't even notice this for a while, because at this point now the red flag gets thrown and the race is stopped because no one can possibly ever get by the giant crash that happened earlier in the lap. And so they don't even notice it for probably 10 minutes into the red flag stoppage. But then Ocon is now out of the race. He broke the bottom of his car and shattered the floor in such a way that even with the repair time available during the red flag, they aren't able to repair it, and he's out.
Oh.
So, and he almost ended Pierre's race, and they had to do some minor repairs to his car also.
And because of where they crashed and everything else, I think the drama came in where it was everyone goes back to their original start position.
Correct. So because they crashed so early, the big crash happened so early into the race that every car didn't complete a certain sector of the race, which is where the official timing happens. They don't know the order of the cars at the point the crash happens exactly right. And so then they
funny
have
because
to
they have GPS on all the cars.
Again, the racing rules and stuff are very silly, right? So they are, and this is crucial information for Carlos Sainz, who remember was lost his tire and now is at the back and had to kind of limp his way back around to the pits.
Yeah, managed to do it.
After doing that, during the red flag, they fixed that, changed his tires. Now he gets to start back in fourth or whatever he was in before.
Third place.
Third place. So that was the big excitement. And then the majority of the race now occurs.
So the main drama, the rest of the race, comes from what I think they should start looking at a little bit, which is if you get a penalty in qualifying for quote unquote driving excessively slowly on a track where there's no passing, when Russell and a couple other people just start opening up gaps so that their teammates ahead of them or their teammates behind them can get protected for tire changes, it seems to be I don't know if that's cool. Especially one that I noticed was Tsunoda. Tsunoda is not even on Max's team, and yet he opened up a 45-second, 1 minute gap at a certain point just for no reason.
So I think I don't know that there's anything happening there between Tsunoda and Max. I think the RB team was trying to do the no stop race, and that's why he was driving so slow the whole time.
Mm.
Because he wasn't safe to pit from the person behind him, right? Because if
And
he
he's
went
in the
pit,
points,
and
right?
Andy's in the points, and so the safest thing to do is just carry on, lose no positions, even if it means you drive insanely slow for the whole race. And I think that's what they were doing. There were a couple people who tried this. It worked for the leaders who were all on the hard compound tires. The people who were on the medium, I think, had a much worse time.
Yeah.
But most of the weird like gaps that got created in this race were because people were driving, as Andy mentioned, like way off the pace.
I mean, Michael, some of these cars were driving at a speed that, while it would be dangerous for me to do it on that track, I could tell you or I or anyone else on a safe space could drive a car that fast safely.
Okay.
In a straight line. Yeah.
Yeah, in like
Sure.
a place where it was designed and they were like, here's a Porsche, here's a helmet, here's an open area, drive, and, don't crash. You could do it. It was not like a super sport speed.
And to be clear, you can't go like the insane speeds that the F1 cars
No,
can get up to here. Like
top
it's just
speed
not
on
even
Monaco
possible.
is like 150.
Yeah.
And it lasts for about 4 seconds, and then you got to turn again.
Right. So, it's not like, they're...
Is it the track with the tightest hairpin also?
Yes. This is the single...
downhill hairpin.
The single tightest
okay.
turn in the entire Formula One calendar. Almost every car has to change its steering geometry in order to even be able to make it.
Wow. Okay.
Because the car is not meant to turn this sharply. And so I believe every car fits a different steering rack for Monaco. And they all have to raise their ride heights because these are just roads, and they're old roads at that. And so they are like very bumpy and uneven compared to like purpose-built racetracks.
The kids were watching, and they even noticed like all the cars are sparking. And I'm like, yeah, they're all hitting their bottoms. And you know what didn't happen on this road course? No sewer drains popped up.
Gee, huh? It's almost like they've done it before and they know how it works.
Anyway, speaking of the kids, the reason I missed a lot of this info, do you guys remember I talked about the NFL doing the like Toy Story version of a football broadcast where they like changed the game over?
Oh yeah, uh-huh.
Kind of be like a kids broadcast. So I didn't know this, but F1 does it too.
Interesting. Where?
Really?
Yeah. So the broadcast, while we were watching, we got up, we watched the race, and I turned on what was called F1 Kids. And it was 4 kids and a lady, I don't know her name, I apologize, doing the race commentary. And a lot more of the like digitized, like all the race drivers had little caricatures instead of their actual pictures. And there was almost no team radio unless it was something they could like vet in advance and then talk about. And there was like little did you know boxes. Oh, did you know what a pit wall is? Did you know this? Did you know that? My youngest liked it, and my oldest was like, I hate this. Turn the real one back on.
The dichotomy of the ages.
Yeah. But while they did cover the crash, they never really covered the Ocon thing. They didn't cover tire changes. They didn't talk about race strategy very much, and I missed a ton of team radio. So while it might have been interesting for a little bit, I think a lot of the stuff about like the pit wall, well, I'm watching with them. They can ask me what the pit wall is. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's one of those. I think the NFL fell subject to this too when they did like the Nickelodeon thing.
Yeah.
And some of their other. I haven't seen the Toy Story one, but I think adults don't give kids enough credit. And like kids can figure out how sports work, man. It's like they're not that complicated usually. Especially if there's an adult there they can ask questions to.
Especially later on, like they're asking now, we've been to 5 baseball games and now they ask questions about like, well, why this? Why that? I thought this, I thought that, It doesn't take very long.
Yeah, they're smart and
They
will
know how to
figure it
read the
out.
post. They can tell which drivers are in what positions. They don't need.
The numbers are there for everyone to see intentionally, right? I think the other thing that has happened in the past in Monaco is there has been a lot of like, because you have to stop, right, at least once to change your tires because you have to run 2 compounds as long as it doesn't rain. And a lot of the drama about that was nullified when the red flag got thrown because at the red flag, you can change your tires with no penalty. And if you started on the mediums and you switch to the hards, all the teams know the hards can go all the laps and then you're done.
Especially if you are in control of the race in the front and no one's really going to be able to pass you.
Right.
Yeah.
And so, sort of the drama at the front of the pack was nullified immediately as soon as they all saw Charles Leclerc, who ended up winning, driving slowly in the first several laps, right? It was like, all right, well, we know what's going on here.
First Monegasque to win the race?
Not ever in the last 60 or 50 years or something.
I thought the other guy only podiumed.
Nope, they said that it had happened once before or has happened before, but it's been a very long time in the modern era, certainly.
Yeah. Kind of cool.
I think, again, this is something that Leclerc has been wanting like a very long time and is like clear this was like the monkey on his back, like especially after the last several years, like
the last 3 were like
and then still not winning, right?
Did not start, did not finish, last 3 races.
It's something like that, yeah. Like
anyway.
Basically like stuff that isn't his fault, effectively.
Well, we effectively did it, you guys. We made it an entire podcast without talking about video games one single time. So this is officially We Were Gamers, the podcast for over 30s that don't have time for games.
Not wrong, though.
That's the way we end it.
It's like I'm still playing Balatro. I don't know. Like, what do you? Yeah, I don't know what else there's to say.
Yeah. Yeah. COTC takes a decent amount of my time. I will have another game to talk about probably by next week, especially since David Lynch won't be out by then. But we'll have more shows and games and all sorts of stuff to talk about next week. And in the meantime, if people want to get a hold of us and tell us about their floppy wheels or whatever.
They can send that to podcast at wewergamers.com. That's
a little Angel Hernandez in you there, buddy.
Sorry,
he threw it. He threw it. Strike. Yeah, strike.
Yeah, definitely. I didn't blink. It was a strike. It's fine. All good. Podcast at wewergamers.com. Podcast at wewergamers.com. We are also on YouTube, youtube.com/@wewergamers. Check it out. We got some good curated stuff on there for folks.
Yeah.
Maybe after this, we'll have to go force Andy to make a David Lynch playlist, if that's even possible. It might not be.
We have some stuff from previous David Lynch things. We have the Twin Peaks rewatches with our agent in the field.
Yeah.
Those might need updating at some point.
Yeah. I'm still working my way through rewatching season 3. It's real different, man.
I changed my hertzes this time inside my output of Windows and some input volumes in other places. So let's see.
Got to stop that recording.
If the problems occur.